rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Myers, roll call, please.
Certainly. Commissioner Stinson.
Here.
Commissioner Montoya. Vice Chair Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Mayers.
Here.
Commissioner Bernstein.
Here.
Commissioner Bacon.
Here.
Chairman Metcalf.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes, July 9, 2025.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 9th, 2025.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, School PD 250613. A major site plan application submitted by Shane Johansson of Kimley Horn Engineering on behalf of the Ashley Johnson and Nextera Energy Resources for an industrial solar facility located generally between East Selma Highway North, East Corman Road South, North Sunshine Boulevard West, and State Route 87 East in Coolidge, Arizona, with the following APMs of 1, 401 48 002A, 2, 401 48 004Y, 3, 401 48 04D, 4, 401 00D6, 5, 501 48 0050.
401.
Oh, missed the 401. 401 48 0050 and 6, 401 48 003A, comprising of 791.42 plus or minus acres. Discussion and action. Bill Dorfer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, this agenda item is a major site plan for the Selma Solar Project, that is that I identified here within the red on our site exhibit. You can see it as you would just describe between Corman, Selma Road, Sunshine Boulevard, and generally a little further to the west of Highway 87 here.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before we go any further?
Yes.
Is this within the overlay for solar energy production?
It is. We will be covering that, and it is also documented in the staff report.
That's all I wanted to find out for sure.
There you go. So as we proceed to our general plan exhibit, one can see that the, once again, designated red area of 792 acres is all comprised of the urban neighborhood land use. Similar areas adjacent to it. We have a little bit of business and commerce down here, and some of these areas down here are Eloy. As we go to our zoning exhibit, you'll once again see a single assigned color to the overall project within, once again, red boundary. The green representing the agricultural zoning district, same thing, some other nearby agricultural zoning districts. Uncolored areas are within the Pinal County areas, and some of the areas down here are Eloy. The purple over here is not representing Eloy, that's actually our I-2, it just happens to be something that comes out to be the same color when we turn on these layers here. So the industrial solar facility overlay zone that you were just asking about, this is the overall area that was inducted into the zoning ordinance about 3.5 years ago of these particular areas. Our particular project this evening, once again, the major site plan for Selma Solar, is within the red bounded area here, 792 acres. So in the discussion, there's a couple layers to this thing that can get a little confusing. So I wanted to draw a graphic here, and the next slide is actually a zoom in of that area because I actually kind of wanted to show how we're related regionally and also to some of the other land uses here. So in this particular case, I simply called it the Regional Project Reference Exhibit. As you can see, purple areas here are Eloy, uncolored areas are Pinal County, and then you can see the relationship of its location to the inland Port Arizona with Lucid and Procter & Gamble, and then the other parcels hopefully in near time will have tenants or occupants there as well too. So the location that we're talking about is here. There's a larger area of the two conditional use permits that were approved several years ago, also prior to the overlay district for the solar facilities. And just to highlight, once again, within the red, that is the total CUPs. The blue area that we're talking about this evening is the Selma Solar Major Site Plan. So don't worry, I'm going to zoom in on this and explain it a little bit more. This was also obviously in the packet. So this gives a little bit better of a representation here to see what we're talking about here with the multiple layers. The primary element is there are two different conditional use permits that were approved within maybe about a half a year of each other several years ago, once again prior to the overlay. So in this case, I just labeled Corman Solar CUP area and literally physically drew arrows in the black here to represent and show exactly where it is divided by this dotted black line here. In other words, we basically have these four 160-acre sections here, and then the Selma Solar conditional use permit area, everything above this black dotted line here, represented by showing the arrows, showing the extents of all that it also incorporates. And once again, this evening, we are talking about the area within the blue here, being the major site plan, the 792 areas, or excuse me, 792 acres of that area. For the time being, these other remaining areas of the conditional use permit between the two different permits themselves are not part of this application this evening. If something of this nature were to develop similar to what we're talking about this evening, they would have to come back at a different time and acquire those types of entitlements with those submissions. I will point out, however, though, that these areas could also not just develop into renewable energy and supporting infrastructure, but other types of commercial type development, or maybe even a mix of that. That's just pure speculation. Some projects are developing like this across the nation. Don't know what's going to happen in this area. We might see some creative proposals as time goes by. But once again, this evening, we are only talking about the area in the blue here. So just going through some site photos here. In the upper left here, we have the site generally looking southwest from the intersection of Selma Highway and La Palma Road. As we look to the upper right here, that is our site looking generally to the northwest for the intersection of Corman Road and La Palma Road. And then down below here in the middle here, that's the site generally look, oh my, God bless you. That'll wake you up. And our photo here in the middle, down at the bottom, is our site looking generally northwest from the intersection of Corman Road and the Sunshine Boulevard alignment. Now the site plan that we have, we spent quite a bit of time and quite a few meetings in meeting and discussing with the applicant how to prepare this. And the easiest way to put it is that when they first came and we're starting to talk about it, we actually went back to what we know sometimes is the examples that we've had before. So this body approved the Brittle Bush major site plan project for that solar facility there 3 years ago. So we gave them a copy of that and some of the supporting information. We said, this seemed to work out pretty good. Go ahead and emulate that. This is the end result of that information and the applicant willingly following our suggested design. Furthermore, the area down here that's not within the green here is actually in portions of Pinal County. And from the results of what we did in our discussion here, they effectively followed a similar site plan presentation and supporting information that they gave the county outside of the additional information that the county would require. So it was kind of a collaborative effort to basically bring the information in the way that it had from what we'd done 3 years ago and to do this as follows. So this is the front page of the major site plan. It's a big project. Being as big as it is, it's kind of simple in some ways because the graphics kind of represent the broader area of what we're looking at. So we got basically the site plan broke up into 4 quadrants. Sheet 200 is kind of our index thing. We'll spend a little bit of time. We've gone to the northwest portion, which is section 201. As you can see here, we've got line detail representing the solar arrays, access points, different types of infrastructure that would be contained within it, other areas of representation, the green kind of showing where the landscaping is, Other elements such as setbacks and fence locations and things of that nature, a little bit finer detail in some of the following pages. All this detail has been worked out and thoroughly vetted with the fire department, with public works, with engineering, and also within the planning department. As we go to the northeast portion of the sheets here, being 202, you can see not only, once again, a representation of the solar array and access points, landscaping, fencing, setbacks, but also this is a representation of the battery electric storage system, which is allowed as an accessory use unto the principal use through the overlay district, even though we're also, once again, talking about some permitting that occurred several years before the overlay ever happened. This was something we were working with the building department very closely too, in wanting to have this information displayed here, along with the substation here. And once again, the applicant was willing enough to show this to us, that eventually sometime there'll obviously be a gen tie that ties into this, but that's something different, not a part of this major site plan element. So we were very glad that the applicant worked with us with the request from the building department as well. Kind of finishing out the sheets here, basically this is the southwest portion, section 203. Once again, calling out the solar arrays, access points, minor details, but sometimes very important. Working out with the fire department, you see a bunch of hammerhead turnarounds here in case they ever had to go in there, turn around the fire truck, or just have quicker access to just basically turn back around, or even for maintenance vehicles. So work out all those details. And once more, just finishing up, this is basically the southeast portion of it. Once again, access points coming off the roadways, representations of where landscaping, fencing, setbacks will be, and so forth. So for this page, this is basically just a nice representation that shows different sides or internal portions within the project itself. Some of them are kind of elevations showing where the solar arrays are, the fencing, the setbacks, the landscaping, the roadways, sometimes the distances of the roadways, if it's a full section or the half section of the roadway, of those elements that were required to be undertaken or improved by the conditional use permit. Once again, this is only about the major site plan this evening. And some more detail, basically working out how the roadway design and the surfaces and the widths of the gates and entrances and other things such as the heights of the fence relative to its barbed wire and things, also following things like the National Electrical Code, things of that nature. A little bit of detail of showing the solar array here. Some of you may have seen things similar to this or a little bit different. Obviously, technology continues to advance. Some of you know that a long time ago I worked at First Solar, and even then they were always talking about the advanced progression of the efficiency of the panels. So these are obviously going to represent state-of-the-art when they're installing them. So they're going to have different apparatuses and elements that will take maximum advantage of positioning it when the sun's directly overhead, or so to say. Just a representation of the graphics that we've actually prepared, showing the ideal spacing of the oleanders. The ones that have been out there for a couple of years, after a little bit some hotter temperatures, sometimes irrigation lines breaking a little bit, getting after having plants replaced and stuff, done a pretty good job with that. All of our department, we've gotten pretty good at it. And sometimes when I've been out driving around there and stuff, some of them are looking, I will say, very nice. So hopefully in a couple more years, those will be actually quite large and providing a lot of screening and some additional buffering besides the distancing that you have from the roadway to the actual project itself. So every reason to believe that this will eventually become one of those types of projects as well too. So for the time being, I will probably just back it up to here. The applicant is here with their full team of experts. They can answer any questions that you have, and staff is available also to answer any questions that you have. So I will turn it over to you, Mr. Chair, and pending that the applicant would like to get up and say a few words themselves in addition to whatever I've said, I let you, Mr. Chair, entertain that motion.
Please state your name, company, and address.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman? Is that on?
It should be. If it was,
Just take it out of there. No?
Now, how's that? There we go. Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes here today. My name is Ralph Pugh. My office is in Mesa. I'm Land Use Counsel to NextEra Energy Resources and Selma Energy Center, which is the project you're looking at tonight. So Mr. Garthright took a few minutes to explain what we've all been working on for months. You're seeing the very tip of the iceberg. This site plan is very comprehensive, very detailed, contains all the requirements based on the code and the CUP. So we come to you tonight having had what I call step 2 of a 3-step process. Step 1 has already been accomplished, right? The zoning and the conditional use permit and the overlay district have all been decided and answered, and this property is within all of those. The second step to develop a project of this nature then is site plan approval. And that's what we're here for. And frankly, it's been, like I say, almost a year of very, very detailed discussions with the staff on, 15 feet here, 20 feet there, 50 there, landscaping here, what type of quantities, all kinds of things of that nature. So once the site plan receives approval from the commission, then we still have the next step, which involves applying for the building permit and submitting the decommissioning report. So those two things will be the next steps after the commission decides on the site plan. So as much as it would be fun to visit with you about the technical aspects of the site plan, Mr. Garthright covered it completely. We have several individuals here tonight who could answer specific questions if you have them, but we urge your support of this site plan, and you're getting, like I say, the very, very tip of this iceberg that's been percolating along in the system here in Coolidge for almost a year. So we urge your support of this case, commissioners. We urge you to approve it, and we will then begin our process of the building permit and finalize the decommissioning report. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
I got a few.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions before I get started? Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. So with the city that supported this back in 2018, a lot of the land use plans are changing for this area, especially with the new freeway and interchanges coming to this part. I mean, you can even see it right there on the presentation. Is this going to affect our future developments of this area, growth area? We have as an urban neighborhood right now. So as we went from ag to urban, that was kind of like our state's aspect of doing more for our state, especially for our town. Would this affect us going forward and hinder the valuation of the properties?
Yeah, commissioners, the answer to that question, in our opinion, is that this project will not hinder that process. Part of what's happened here is the use permits that were approved back in 18, 19 included more property. It went clear over to the 87. So this project does not do that. There remains a corridor there, an area for future development that could be other than a solar use if the landowner wanted to. And we don't believe that the body of the CUP and the body of this site plan will interfere with those future long-range plans. And frankly, those questions were well vetted and answered when the CUPs were approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a little bit going forward in like 2035 or maybe even 2050, as we are moving forward in construction and innovative designs, if a developer did want to come to us and they seen nothing but a sea of solar panels, would that make them want to go to the next town over, possibly to Eloy, a little bit north up or a little south to there?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think the answer to that depends on the person, right? Whoever it is that's looking at it. But they will know. If the developer is coming to Coolidge to bring an industrial project or a business of some type, right? They're going to know your ISVF, your solar overlay district. They're going to know where it is. They're going to know where those parcels are. If they feel that there's a conflict, they can make that decision. But we don't think that'll be the case, and this has been well thought out with your ISF district.
Okay. Now, have you any other projects in the area that have residential or urban neighborhoods along with them, or is this your only project?
Members of the commission, we do have another project, but I don't remember if it was urban district or the other one? Maybe Mr. Garthright can help us out with that.
Let me answer a couple quick things. The first thing to remind is that the land use, which proceeds as a policy document to the actual zoning, does call out the entire area as urban neighborhood. Now, don't let that misconstrue what it is and what it isn't. Actually, the urban neighborhood actually allows the greatest range of zoning districts within that definition, about 12 to 14. So it is actually the land use area with the greatest range. And then the actual zoning is ag as it was then, as it is now. One other thing, let me go to this one here. Now, this is the overlay district here, but portions of this property here were actually, and historically, it's somewhat well known, were part of an 11,000 acre project called the Mesa Water Farm, a whole other explanation to itself. But the point there is that the developers who we closely work with, being Pinal Land Holdings, have developed some of this stuff into the solar facilities and different things, but there are several thousand acres that are actually part of a couple of planned area developments planned area developments as master plans themselves. So as some of this has developed into that, there are still thousands upon thousands of acres in this near area that used to be a portion of that 11,000 acres that are actually reserved for work and living conditions and recreation, things of that nature, not too far from here. So,
Okay, so you don't think the ground-mounted solar panels would affect, the future development, as of maybe if roof, mounted solar panels might enhance our infrastructure with the industrial zone?
Well, members of the commission, and maybe the staff wants to take that too, but our thought about that is the question of solar arrays at this location was thoroughly vetted and answered when this property received two different CUPs, conditional or council use permits, to allow this specific use. And so we're here today to implement that decision that has already been made. But will it affect someone's decision-making to be next to a solar farm, as we would call it? I don't know the answer to that. I think some may, but most may not, depending on what they intend to do with the land, right?
Correct. Well, that's all the questions I have.
maybe another way to also add to it is that, once again, Eloy, portions of the county in proximity to this, and some areas that are kind of generally, say, east and west of our jurisdiction, quite a bit of solar out there. In fact, actually, the county right now is going through almost 25,000 additional acres under their major general plan approach. Obviously, it's in the middle of the process. They're not approved yet. I guess one would think that they do their homework and stuff. But what that's to say is that there's enough of these locations scattered throughout the entire county and even our own municipality that there's far enough distances of master plan developed communities and things, and the way that they are with the landscaping and the sense of place and being as a PAD is supposed to be, that they are kind of self-defined unto themselves as far as the theming, the naming of the community and stuff, and that as a result of that, technically, they wouldn't really necessarily be impacted by that, or I can't overly speak that to more rural residential type of things, but the landscaping, the setbacks, those were put in place the way that they were as far back as 5 or 6 years ago for these very reasons. As Mr. Pugh is identifying, those things have been thoroughly vetted for those very reasons, so.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, just to clear this up, the decision on whether or not solar panels belong on that property, including all of it, was decided in 2022 by the city council. When they adopted the solar overlay district, they decided solar panels by right are allowed to go there. We're discussing the technical aspects of their site plan application tonight.
What we're
Yeah.
doing right
Yeah.
now is discussing
Yeah.
landscaping and all the other things. that
Versus,
go along
yeah,
with it.
versus the, the ground
It's
mount.
already gonna have solar arrays on it no matter what.
That's right.
Correct. We want to make sure that they're just complying with the technical
right.
aspects of our code.
But would it be better if it was like roof mounted? I mean, we're not against solar, but
No.
you know what I mean?
And I think Phil can talk to that, but I don't think our code requires them to be roof mounted. Is that correct?
The easiest way to put it is this is by its very definition there. This is an industrial solar facility. This is a powered facility, albeit very quietly because it's collecting the rays of the sun. But otherwise, you're talking about just single unit distribution, directly power to the house for which the panels are upon. You would never be able to get this type of utility, literally, once again, the industrial definition here, out of the equivalent of like even 500 or 600 houses, I mean, I don't really know that number, but this is an industrial solar facility.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
I got a question here. So you talked about a generator at some point, like a grid tied generator.
A gen-tie, the definition of like transmission type style lines connecting to actually the more high-powered traditional transmission lines. In fact, they probably have somebody here who can answer that question.
So the reference to the term gen-tie is exactly what Mr. Garthright said. It is the line that ties the power and energy that's produced on this site. It ties that line and connects it to a location where it can either be modulated and or transferred from place to place, either through a switch yard, substation, any of those things would do that, where the power then gets distributed where it belongs.
Right. And I saw that substation and stuff on there already. I'm used to seeing that. My next question that is going to follow that is you're saying that you're going to be generating your own electrical power. So where's it going? So you're storing it. How are you going to discharge it?
Going on to the,
So again, we're dealing with questions that we're happy to answer that were dealt with before. But the answer, what happens is energy is generated on these sites. It's stored in batteries from time to time, and it is distributed through a power purchase agreement with the utility provider. In Arizona, there's only so many entities that can deliver power to our homes, yours, mine, and our businesses. And those entities purchase power from solar generated and wind generated and natural gas generated sources. And they accumulate that and then distribute it as needed throughout their service area. That's the best I can describe for you.
Right. And I know it gets stored on the batteries. I know that it's going to have to get discharged somewhere.
Yeah.
Me being an electrical contractor, I know that.
Yeah.
My thing is if it's going to a utility, how come it hasn't been identified as it's going to a utility?
it has. They wouldn't even be here if they didn't have a contract with
Yeah.
the utility to start with.
But that's my question, is that provision for
We're
utilities?
happy to answer that question. You'd like to know who's purchasing the power
Yeah.
from
Yes.
this site plan, right?
Yes.
Okay, Ashley has an answer to that.
Hello, my name is Ashley Johnson. I'm the developer on this project, based out of Juno Beach, Florida. So to answer some of your questions, we will be connecting into the Vauquis substation that's about 2 miles northeast of this site via a 2-mile gen-tie. This was approved by the ACC during its certificate for environmental compatibility, and we do have a contracted PPA with Salt River Project.
Okay,
That answers my question right there. I just wanted to know who it was.
okay.
I think we're all concerned that we have all this solar panels here in our city limits, roughly 8,800 acres approved. And over the years, we've figured out that a lot of it's not even sticking around to be utilized by us, but yet it's in our city limits. And I think the commissioner down here asked a valid question. This isn't in an approved area. It is in the solar overlay. It has permission to be there. We understand that. But in the years to come, 20, 30, 40 years from now, and people are, Coolidge is wanting to grow, but yet developers see this mass array of solar panels, what effect is that going to have on our growth? Is that, Commissioner? Is that what you were? And to my knowledge, I haven't heard of any proposed subdivisions that will be neighboring, in our overlay here in our town, maybe in Eloy, but you don't see it. So I think is it something that's going to steer people away from, we're going to have other industries that don't mind being there? That's kind of our general question. And you guys next door, you've been in business for a long time, and what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. You're right. Many types of industries could be attracted to solar development, right? I mean, in one of the maps, you'll see that there's Lucid, Procter and Gamble. All of those industries, they have high energy demands. They want to come to areas where they know that their energy needs will be met. So, maybe apartment complexes won't be particular area, but you will be attracting other types of industries that are going to generate lots of employment opportunities for Coolidge.
So what specific ones are we talking about? We're talking in generalities here. We picked, a moment in time, and you're talking pretty general that, yeah, possibly they could show up. But what experience do you have of other projects you have either in Arizona or throughout the United States where industry is actively seeking out where solar is and building, $100 million facilities next to them?
Well, a very, I think, relevant example could be Superstition Vista right here in Pinal County, right? I mean, that's been identified as a key area for development and economic growth. And because of that, a lot of renewable and just energy generators have been seeing many more RFPs, requests for proposals from utilities.
Where's that location at?
Northern Pinal County.
Where's that, by Florence Junction or Gold Canyon Ranch or?
So Superstition Vistas is state land that's being annexed little at a time into the city of Apache Junction.
Right, so it
That's
doesn't
all-
exist yet in a
No,
solar
it does.
array.
You go down Ironwood Road today, it's fully improved at Ray. Subdivisions are there, a new high school is being built.
Right, I get
Yeah.
that, but there's no solar arrays there.
Oh, there's no
panels.
solar arrays right there.
Okay, that was my
Commissioner.
question. We're kind of getting off the subject a little bit, so let's come back to it. I realize that this proposal is approved and it is within the solar overlay. However, most of this board wasn't on the committee when all of this was transpired. So there's a lot of questions that we have that just might be for clarification purposes for ourselves that I would like to ask. And if I ask a question that's, already been addressed, just let me know and I'll just move on. Okay. So what is the length of this operation? What's its useful life? What are we looking at here?
30 years.
Yeah, 20 to 30 years.
20 to 30? Okay, and we already figured out where the electricity was going. It was staying here. That's important.
Well, it's going to Salt River Project.
All right. Now, I want to ask some questions about when you go to construct this facility, how responsible are you going to be to the neighbors surrounding and people that drive by there? So I'm sure you already know what question I'm going to ask you.
Are you going to ask about dust?
I'm going to ask about your soil type, and then you're going to explain to me what the profile is of the soil. Okay, you remember that question last time we talked?
Mr. Scott, we can get into all that if you'd like, but I'm just concerned we're off the topic of a site plan.
Right.
If
but,
it's relevant, we're
are you
happy to
gonna be
cooperate, yeah.
I got it. Are you going to be responsible? That's what I'm asking. So in the area that you're in, I'll just fill in all the blanks for you. That soil out there, you drive a pickup over it. I drove out there this week. I drove over it twice, and it creates dirt. If you bring a tillage tool in there and you move dirt, it's going to have the consistency of flour, meaning when we plant cotton here, we make beds and we pull dirt up. In that area, when you pull the dirt up, it flows back down. So the soil is fluid. Now, during the construction process, it was brought up at another meeting that you're going to spray water on it, and that's wonderful. You're going to contain it. But what are you going to do when the panels are on there? And let me explain why. In 2002, on that very farm, when the farmers switched crop rotations, it was windy. And the wind blew that soil across Highway 87, and in 5 different accidents, there was about 48 vehicles that got smashed in there. What do you have in your development plan that would keep your soil? I know some of it's going to get away, I got it, What are you going to do to keep your soil on your land?
Mr. Scott, if I might, just well-intentioned, when they go to construct, they're going to be obligated to obtain a dust control permit from Pinal County.
Okay.
If there's any issues with them violating such permit, we can address that with Pinal County, who would enforce that. An approved site plan, if it's landscaping, if it's, the trees fall down, there's enforcement mechanisms in the code to say you have to put the tree back up.
Okay.
Does that address the ongoing concerns or the concerns after this gets through planning and zoning?
Well, you kind of got it at a little bit of a disadvantage because we don't have access to the previous information coming up with these questions, but I appreciate the direction.
Yeah.
So let's move on to let's see, you suggested that you're going to grow oleanders. Now, these oleanders that you're going to plant, are they a dwarf variety? Or what's the expectation of the growth? How high are they going to get?
I can't answer that question for you right now, but we do have a landscape plan that we've been working on with the city. It's currently for every 30 feet, 1 tree, 3 shrubs.
Right, yeah, I read that too. The only thing the reason I bring that point up is if you look at Saint Solar, which is one of your projects, the oleanders are roughly the same height and size as they were when they were planted because they haven't been watered. Oleander is just second best thing to a weed. Those things grow. They can get 20 feet tall if they're properly managed. And, in your presentation, you said that you'll have it under drip irrigation to keep the plant material growing and healthy. Those plants at that site aren't growing and healthy, and the dead ones haven't been removed. So the only thing I can base that question on is my past experience driving past that every time I go to and seeing that. So what assurances can you give us that you will follow through with the plants or the trees or the bushes, whatever you decide to grow, that those things are going to actually grow and just not sit there and not get watered, fertilized, or taken care of?
I would say that we are very much committed to our landscaping plan. When at Saint Solar, those trees were destroyed during construction, and our drip irrigation system was also destroyed during construction. We hired a local landscaper, Evan Tripp. He's been phenomenal, and he has been working very hard on improving that landscape for a little over a year now. I don't know how long it takes for an grow, but he's replanted those and has been tending to them every day for the past year. So maybe that's why they haven't reached the height that you're expecting them to be. As for our site, we plan to work with Evan as well. But if there's another tree that the city would prefer, we are more than happy to work with you on.
I have oleanders in my yard, or had them in my old house, and you have to trim them every month because they just get horrendously tall if they're watered and cared for. But based on past experience, that's all I have to go on. And your word, which is valuable, what are you going to do to ensure that these plants don't end up like Saint Solar? Because we would like them to grow up high and kind of, cover your panels.
Yeah, absolutely. We want them to be healthy and grow as well. We are working with another local, Dylan Lewis, who's been going out to our current operational every month with his drone and checking up on the status of the landscaping and sends them to Gilbert. So we can promise to do monthly landscaping reports as well for this project.
So these people that you're hiring to take care of your bushes and trees are Coolidge citizens?
They are.
Okay, good answer.
Commissioner, if I could add, if they want to request other shrubs or trees to replace the oleanders, they're more than welcome to. Also, we do have active code enforcement for a lot of these subdivisions or these solar fields, not only for their plant material kind of expiring and not being replaced, but also for the weeds and the maintenance of them. So they're starting to catch up. They're large areas. So we do have ongoing communication with them.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned on trees or shrubs or whatever they plant. I just want some guarantee that those things are going to be made to grow or allowed to grow. And I looked up and I called some nurseries. I got a watering schedule for
Yeah, and that's on staff. That's on code enforcement. That's on us having.
enforce that if it's not?
Well, we have been, you know, we've held up C of Os, we've held finals. You know, there's some mechanism in place to keep, you know, help us rein them in.
Okay. All right. At the end of the proposal, what's going to happen to the property? Do you have like a decommissioning plan on file with them? Okay, that's wonderful. What's your overall plan when it's in, when you decommission, and what's it going to end up at?
Well, we currently own the property. Once it's decommissioned and the materials are recycled, we can determine at that point in time what's best to do with it. As you have mentioned before, maybe you'd like to see other types of development in this area, and maybe we would be approached by a developer that would be interested in buying the property from us. But currently, you know, we have a 20-year contract with SRP. The typical life cycle for this site is 20 to 30 years. So all I can say right now is that at the end, you know, we have our decommissioning plan. We're responsible for all the decommissioning, and we'll recycle as responsibly as we possibly can.
And let me add one thing to your statement there. They now have a recycling system for solar cells.
Yep.
The first one has been developed and is in operation.
Mr. Scott, in answer to your question also, I think you were asking what condition will it be when it's finished? What will we return it to? The obligation there is to return it to what it was when it started. Right.
That's generally what I see in these proposals.
Yeah,
That
that's
if it was a
about-
farm, it goes back to a farm.
Yeah, about the only way you can word it is to say, here we are today, tomorrow we have panels on it, 30 years from now we don't. It needs to be the same as it was at the beginning.
Okay, so it would be returned to a farmable condition, ditches, infrastructure, things of the such,
Or like it is today.
or like it is today?
Yeah.
Okay. How many batteries are we going to have on this facility?
The count of the batteries,
The number? I know you guys talking watts and stuff. But
I wouldn't even bother getting into that.
Don't even bother,
I
don't
wouldn't-
even go
the reason
there.
the reason I wouldn't
It's
is because
thousands.
it's a requirement of a calculation in kilovolt, figuring all that
I'm
out.
not, I'm looking at the number of batteries, period, not,
The number of batteries, it all just depends on the actual
I'm going to
source
ask them, that's
capacity.
what I'm asking.
It's a lot.
How many batteries? How many battery pods?
Mr. Scott, the number of the batteries are shown on the site plan. We'd have to take the time and count them or ask somebody on our team who would know how many. But we've illustrated exactly where they'll be and what they will look like and how they'll be configured.
Okay, all
So
right.
you got 4 pods there.
150 megawatts.
All right? There's the rule of thumb, 1 container per megawatt,
Okay.
so roughly 150.
Yeah, that's a simple answer I was looking for.
Especially with those containers.
So how are we gonna contain them if they catch on fire?
All
this
right,
part
let's
of
have our
this, or do I
fire
need to-
expert come to that one.
Nick, is this part of the question, or do I need to move on?
He can answer the question, but it's also addressed in the building code addresses it as well.
Yeah, I think most of the questions, with all fairness to everybody here tonight, are dealt with in the code and in enforcement provisions within the city of Coolidge. And so there is some of that we need to remember as part of this site plan approval. But we are happy to answer your question, commissioners, about that. We just want to try to keep it focused on the site plan.
Okay.
So let's answer the question briefly.
Hi, my name is Josh Adams. I'm the Fire Safety Engineering Manager, Battery Energy Storage Systems with NextEra. I live in Portland, or I live in Canby, Oregon. So these systems are tested to prove that in the event of a worst case scenario of a thermal runaway or a fire, that a fire in one battery energy storage container will not propagate to any adjacent container. So it'll be isolated to the container in which it originated, and that will require zero intervention at all whatsoever from the fire department, so that they, ultimately safety is our number one goal, and the safest course of action is for them to allow the physical barriers built into the system to isolate and terminate the fire itself.
So if one catches on fire, it's not gonna spread to the other ones through the wiring, right?
Correct.
Is that what
Yeah,
you
the
said?
wirings all goes through underground. conduit. And so there's not really an upwards mean. You'd have to have kind of overhead wires for those to be a means of product.
So if one of them catches on fire, what's the protocol? Do you go up there and spray foam on it? I know you don't spray water on it. I got that.
No, the protocol is to protect the surrounding areas. Right? So
Okay,
the
so
fire
you-
department's response is to protect the vegetation
You'll-
outside of the facility.
You'll allow that one unit just to burn out?
At that point, once that one unit has already caught fire, it's already a loss. So there's no point in putting anybody in danger by attempting to intervene. So yes, that's exactly.
So there's no toxins that are emitted in smoke or anything like that?
There are toxic smokes if you're extremely close, and I mean inside the facility in a place where if there's actually a report that was released at the end of March this year by Fire and Risk Alliance, they're well-respected fire protectors throughout the United States. They issued a report at the end of March this year where they assessed a dozen historic events, and their analysis basically determined that there were no environmental effects. So there was no contamination of the soil, no contamination of the water, and no air contaminants that presented a risk to health or safety to any of the surrounding residents.
Where was that report out of, did you say?
Fire and Risk. It was published by American Clean Power and Fire and Risk Alliance.
Okay. Well,
Anything else, Tom?
oh, yes, I just have one other one. I did have 2 pages, but it looks like I got disqualified on some of them. But just one other point of concern, and it's on your page here. So how tall is the perimeter fence going to be? I didn't see it in the drawing.
By electrical code. 6 foot.
The height of the perimeter is 6 feet.
6 feet. Okay,
Plus, plus another foot of the razor wire on top.
all right. And it's going to be powder coated, I did catch that in
Yes,
there.
yes, per
Or
the
it's gonna look
CUP
appropriate.
requirements. Yep.
All right, my question is, if the fence is going to be 6 feet tall, it looks like the maximum height of the solar panel as it rotates up, according to your drawing here, is 15 feet. Now, I've driven around to Story Solar and some of the other ones, and their panels, as they come up to the upright position, they're either equal to or 2 feet taller than the fence. And that seems appropriate. This one, however, when it comes to the top, it's going to be 8 to 9 feet higher than the fence. Why
Yes.
is that?
If we want to maybe go to the slide where it shows the cross streets road. I think it's one slide back. Okay, so I first want to preface by saying that the fences are there for security purposes.
Sure.
Right? But if you look at any of these cross references, so we have the center of the road, we have the fence line, and the solar panels aren't immediately next to that fence. So it's further back, first of all. And secondly, the solar panels are never going to be fully vertical, right? They're trying to capture the sun. So they're never going to be towering over the fence. And I want to say that at St. the fence is also, I think that's standard, FERC standard.
So the panel follows the sun to X degree? Is that what we're saying? So it doesn't stack up, but it would still be higher than the fence, even though there's a setback of probably 50 feet or whatever it is, which is appropriate. But if we're not growing our bushes, our trees, our oleanders or something, they're going to be visible. And the eye appeal of the property and the property surrounding that area is not going to be really favorable.
Yeah, I mean, so we have our standard 50-foot setback, and in some areas, a 50 to 55-foot right-of-way dedication, the fence line, and then our solar panels are going to begin. And I know you're concerned about our landscaping plan, but we will send you monthly updates. We're very committed to making sure our land will be maintained.
Commissioner Scott, to add to that, we don't have a height, the height restriction in that zone is quite higher than that. The fence really isn't designed to block the view, of the panels. The panels are designed for the height. It helps with maintenance, helps with the rotation of the panels. So it's all engineered, to work together.
Yeah,
And,
that-
we
that's why-
understand that the plants might not grow.
Right.
We hope that they'll grow and kind of block our view, between me, but that's not really the
I
design
hope
of
they
it.
get as tall as the ones at River Gin, I mean, you don't see anything there. But I guess my question was just a question of observation compared to other projects that you have here locally, why these panels are so much taller when you would assume that the ones that are already in use are older technology, and now we have newer technology, but the panels are getting larger. Just assume that they would be smaller.
Yeah, and they might, thinking about the height, looking at this number and then seeing them in person, it might seem skewed, but we're all meeting FERC standard, panel heights, fence line heights. It's all going to look like what you see today.
I think to Mr. Scott and Commissioners, we will comply with the standards in that section of the code, whatever that is. We'll comply with that.
Okay, I'm good.
I've got one quick question for staff. I know it's in the city of Coolidge. Does the Coolidge Fire Department cover it? Because it was Eloy Fire District.
No, it's in the city of Coolidge. We do cover it.
Municipality does cover it now? Okay, that's what I want to make.
Yes, sir.
Fire department was looking at it. If Eloy was covering it, one way through Eloy. Right, the info.
And we do have mutual aid agreements with Florence and Eloy and rural.
Any other questions on the board? I'm gonna open the discussion to the public. Anyone from the public that would like to come to the stand and comment, please do so. Give your name and address. Nobody? Close the public session. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve Cool PZ 25-06-.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Quite empty the room.
It's big money.
I don't want my house there, whether there's panels or not. Cool PZ 250611, rezoning application for an approximate 29.5 acres of land currently in the Ag Zone District to be rezoned to a garden industrial I-1 zoning district as located about 1/4 of a mile east of the southeast intersection corner of State Highway 87 and East Randolph Road as submitted by Rick Miller of Land 2 Plan LLC on behalf of Neil and Brooks with Growers Market Incorporated. APN number 401-21-079C. Bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, this is a request for rezoning from the Agricultural District to the I-1 Industrial Garden, Garden Industrial by Growers Market. Just to touch on a couple things within the report, the history basically summarized how it was annexed into the city about 20 years ago, the adjacent uses around it, which I'll use as an opportunity to transition into the graphics here. Our site exhibit shows the subject location here in this portion of Coolidge along Randolph Road next to the railroad tracks just east of Highway 87 here. Our general plan exhibit with all the purple here, you'll see is industrial and manufacturing. There's quite a bit of designation up and down the north-south corridor of the railroad here in conjunction with Highway 87 and even going east to west here, as you'll know, with the SRP peak generating power plant here, the emulsions plant, and several other operations down in here as a fairly concentrated land use area. Now, when we come to the zoning, north of Randolph Road, you'll see everything east of the track is agriculture. However, just adjacent next to the site, between the railroad track and Highway 87, and everything south of it for quite a ways, you do have the designation of I-2 as the general industrial. That is our highest and most intense zoning district for where such uses, by their own definition, if you look it up, are basically the default location where things of this nature go. The request, however, I point out again, is for the I-1, not for the I-2, but to show that the adjacency of the zoning is actually of a more intense nature than the request. So as usual, our inventory of pictures, which are basically just going up and down Randolph Road. This is the site looking in this direction, northeast from East Randolph Road. The next photograph is kind of basically in the middle of the property, looking directly north from East Randolph Road. And then our final photograph here is looking at the property, which is essentially here, this side of the irrigation lateral, looking northwest, once again, from East Randolph Road. So of the nature of this type of rezoning request, I'll leave it here on the zoning thing. Most of the stuff is in the report. The next most important thing I guess I would call out is under the project description. It talks about the intention of wanting to use it as a plant nursery. The applicant had provided some detail referencing outdoor planting, garden supplies, regenerative produce, herb and plant nurseries, but also conducting some on-site composting operations. The thing that I would note here, as I've underlined and put in bold, is that this next stage, should this body, the Planning and Zoning Commission, make a recommendation for the rezoning, would come before the City Council this following Monday. Thereafter, the applicant would need to come in and submit a major site plan, which would once again come before this Planning and Zoning Commission. So this wouldn't be the last time that you see this. Also, the photographs were to represent the historical use of it with regard to the zoning. I know other discussion might ensue from there, but that's actually a separate issue than from the rezoning request this evening, which is the focus of that matter. The applicant and representatives are here to answer any additional questions you have, maybe add some information to what I've presented here. And at that point, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair, to invite them to the podium if they'd like to come.
No one recognizes
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, staff, members of the audience. I'm Rick Miller, Land to Plan LLC, a consulting firm that I established here following my retirement. Also currently serving the interim town manager for the town of Pine Top Lakeside. Not long after I retired, well, probably 6 months, I was approached by Mr. Neil Brooks, who's the owner of this property. He asked that I assist him in rezoning this property to allow for the use that he has and has actually used on this property for a plant nursery. He's been doing some composting on the area. He found out early on that initially, when he was talking to the county, he thought that his use was that his land was in the county. They kind of insinuated that it was. It wasn't until he had a small compost fire out there that he realized that he was in the city limits here. So he approached me. We talked to the legal staff. We talked to the planning staff. What he's doing tonight is asking for the rezoning of this property, which allows him to conduct the plant nursery on this property in conformance with the general plan that was previously approved by the voters and the mayor and council. This area is in a general industrial area by nature of its proximity to the railroad track and Highway 87, Randolph Road. You go out there, Stinger Bridge and Iron is out there. You got Western Emulsions, you have a number of heavy industrial uses out there, in addition to a lot of farming that surrounds the property to the north and to the east. Mr. Brooks could tell you a lot about oleanders and how quickly they grow, and he grows a lot of them. He grows a lot of plants. In fact, I think his particular use is one that's really needed in this community. There really are no plant nurseries where people can go and buy a number of trees and shrubs and other, flowering shrubs. And he does vegetables. He does a little bit of everything. I can kind of have him elaborate on what Growers Market does if you want to ask him those questions. But this is a good use for the property. It's compatible, again, with the general plan. And we're in concurrence with the staff recommendation for your approval tonight. It's the initial step, as Phil has mentioned. The next step would be then to go to council for their consideration of your approval if given tonight. And then following that, you'd see a major site plan come in, which would illustrate pretty much how he's currently using the property, for a plant nursery. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Mr. Brooks is here to answer any as well for you.
Questions? Tom?
I got a few. Does anybody else have any?
Okay, go ahead.
So the question I had was, I'm understanding that this is gonna be open to the public. It's not for like an HOA who's buying, 100 or 1,000 trees. It's open to me.
I'd probably let Mr. Brooks answer how he intends to sell the product from this site. He really doesn't want to do a retail nursery there where you've got a building you would go into. It's really going to be more open.
But
Growing the
didn't you
product
just-
on the site.
Didn't have
Pardon?
any place where we can buy these kinds of things in our area?
Come on up here. Yep. Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry. I'm Neil Brooks. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. We would like to do events. What we don't want to do is it just depends on how the area develops. But I've got a farm in Safford. We're going to put big trees, pine trees that are 30 feet tall around the perimeter. We want to really make a showcase. And we'd love, if the demand's there, we'll be open to the public. It may take us a couple of years. We would start with events and we'd say, we're 50% less than Moon Valley. Because you're buying direct from the grower. If we don't have to pick it and pack it and ship it, it's very economical for us. But we also, we're very active in the wholesale market. So that's how we'll start.
So it's the trees are like when you drive in, you see the trees, big wooden things that are sitting in rows.
Yeah, but we'll take like a 36-inch box tree, we would sell to the public for $300. In Moon Valley, it's $1,000. 24-inch box tree, we'd sell to the public for $150, $130. With a limited, as I said, if it takes off, we would love that to happen. Because we plant about 20 acres of trees.
All right. The
So-
reason I asked that question is because you're requesting a rezoning garden industrial. And so if you plan on moving it into more retail for, Joe Blow, you're gonna have to come back and ask for it to be rezoned again, are you not?
No.
No, ma'am. They'll come back for a major site plan, and it'll be brought before you. So that'll show the layout of the operation and
Then I must have
the particulars.
misunderstood or read when I was reading services or business.
And that's why we kept it in the I-1, because it allows for this use. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're really, the staff has been very good to work with. That's why I brought Rick on. Our business is nursery and composting. We're not experts at this. We're learning, and that's why we're here.
Okay, that was the extent of my questions.
Yeah. Thing I liked about this project is it's gonna get rid of sheetrock. Junk sheetrock is gonna be recycled and turned back into gypsum and put back into the ground again. So, thank God, instead of dropping it on the highway and let it blow all over the place. Okay, Tom?
How long have you been in business? Is this your first shot at being in business?
No, he's got it.
I started in my backyard when I was 12 with bar mitzvah money at swap meets. My wife still thinks I'm nuts. because this is ag. So, I get up at 4:30, but I've been in it, I'm happy to say 50 years. I hope another 50.
Okay, good. I got a question for staff. You know, you give us a picture of an alfalfa field here. I looked these pictures up on Google Earth, and they were taken in February of 2021, and it was cropped at the bottom. I want staff to tell this commission that assumes that this is what this property looks like, what it looks like today.
Mr. Scott, as I discussed with you last week in your office, I told you, as I indicated here also in the presentation, that this was a representation of historically what the property has been used
I
for,
realize
which
that,
is
Phil,
agriculture.
but what
That
you've
is not
done is
that is the
misrepresent-
situation. If you're talking about the other status of situations, I explained to you that was a different process and not a portion of this.
Okay, but you misrepresented what that project
No, I
looks
did
like
not.
today.
Oh, Commissioner Scott, Vice Chair, so they're here before us because, like Rick had mentioned, that they thought they were in the county, so he started his operation. And then lo and behold, we dive out there and find out we have this operation going, and it wasn't permitted through any, any means through the city. So this is the first step of bringing him back into compliance with
I
the.
got that, but why wasn't the pictures of the current operations of this business given to us instead of a alfalfa field that was 4 years old?
Because this is the rezoning to actually operate out there, once again, to the applicant and the applicant's representative as far as their understanding or not knowing these things, that would come into an issue of having a business license. If that was the type of situation, then that would be different. This is a request for a rezoning to bring the business that he would like to put in place into compliance with that situation and then come back forward with a major site plan before this board.
And those
this
those
commission.
those also follow with the major plan when we bring those back to you.
But
If I
I'm
may,
sure not everybody on this commission drove out there and saw what is going on there.
if I may, first of all, I'd like to apologize. I don't think we meant to mislead you in any way. But if you want to see current pictures in the future, we'll do that for sure. We have them. I mean, we've
Well, I've
had
been
a lot
there.
of pictures.
I drive by there.
Yeah, and so we all
You can see it from
have,
the road.
and so in the future we'll make sure we include pictures of the actual site instead of
I
representation.
think that's really important.
Yeah.
I really do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your input. We'll take that into make sure we do that. So we may show both what
But
it was
all-
before and then current.
All the other proposals that we get are actual pictures of the way it looks currently.
Yeah.
And not the way it looked in the past, even though that whole parcel is a farm.
Yeah, and we'll work on that and make sure the photos are current. I mean, we show you probably both, so we can tell you these are what the zoning would look like before, and this is a current picture. So I apologize for that. We'll take that. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I might address that as well. We were a little surprised by the pictures when we saw the staff report come out. I want you to know that no one on this team provided those pictures.
Okay.
In fact, my client was more than open to have anybody go out there and look at the property, including the staff. They've done several times. Pictures look nice and green. It's a little different out there today. You're absolutely right. And I think it would be better to have them show pictures of the actual site for you. But yeah, no one on our side was trying to mislead anybody with those pictures.
So is your business, is it currently functioning right now, today?
No.
We're not bringing anything on the site. We're just shipping gypsum like crazy. We really discovered that the farmers, there's a huge demand. The other part is that we're doing golf courses that want compost with gypsum because they don't want the dust. So we've discovered that market. So we're only shipping out. We'll have the place beautiful in another 5-6 months, but
And when we discovered their operation, that's why we stopped any import of material, only export to start cleaning up the property, because, like I said, there's a Scott.
My question to him, he's not functioning because it's zoned agriculture, and what he's doing there is in agriculture, so he's out of code. So he has a cease and desist to stop.
Yes, sir, that's why he's clearing it, that's why we're here today, to start the rezone, so we can bring him back into compliance.
Step by step, as you bring it toward the commission, so that we can understand truly what's going on there and not what it's perceived to be.
He was,
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I might, when considering the rezoning, we're trying to consider does this use, does a, what is this going to, general?
701.
I-1, does that fit on the property? We understand that there's current operation that started, we have ceased, and we've restricted so that they can apply for this. We're trying to, I get it, we're trying to put the rabbit back in the hat so we imagine the parcel as it did in those pictures. There's nothing on there.
So you've sent him citations to make him aware of what he needs to do to be in
What he needs to do, and
Yes, sir.
that starts with a rezoning.
Okay.
And he's following it pretty much to the letter of what we prescribed to get him back into compliance. And that's why we're really here today.
So what are some of the items that you're composting out there?
We're basically green waste, which again, we haven't brought anything on since, I don't know how many months. It's been months and months. So all we're doing now is clearing the site. So we don't bring in now, but we had drywall that comes in pieces. We screen it, and then we compost the paper, and we send the gypsum out. So it's a pretty simple operation. Then we were waiting to get permission. We want to put in pipelines and get the water system in to be able to grow trees, but again, we haven't done anything. We actually have trees that I want to bring in. We can't do it till it's cold, but we've got 30-foot pine trees we want to put around, especially the front, but probably around the whole site, just to make it look pretty. Because when the area develops, the drive-by is huge to us. We want it to look really appealing to attract people to come in. Again, that's probably my son's going to do that. It may take 10 years.
So you just said that you compost tree waste, limbs,
Well,
bushes?
that was the original idea. We started that and we stopped. So when we were stopped, we had about 30 semi-loads of just tree trimming. It's the commercial tree trucks we like the best because they grind it, chip it. So we don't have to grind it again. So we can just put that in with a paper because we need nitrogen and we need paper. So we like stuff that's real green because we want to get rid of the paper that comes from the drywall, which the paper won't be that much. When we get it right, paper's only going to be about 8–10%. Most of it's gypsum.
So in your process with the drywall, how do you keep your paper on your property and not blowing countryside?
Water. But we also would love, and my vision would be that we put up shade walls that are 20 feet tall, and we do it in an enclosed area. That's what we'd like to do.
Okay.
And this allows us to do that. So we basically just stop all coming in and get it all clean. That's what we were instructed to do, and we've been following that. As I said, we have a state permit and we have an ag permit. So we had the permits that were required by the county. I went to the county and they told me I was in the right place. So I was pretty shocked because we selected the site because it was kind of a noisy area. It just seemed to make sense, and that was what was available. There's not a lot of little pieces of property available. It's hard to buy 30 acres. So the staff, as I said, has been very helpful. Every time we've had a question, we've asked them, they've answered immediately. And so the site is much, much improved from what it was, and it'll continue to do that. We're very industrious about getting it done.
I just see a lot of your paper blowing on the next farm and blowing around out there.
Well,
In fact,
when
I
we're-
was
when
out
we're
there.
allowed
Wait,
to-
let me finish.
I'm sorry.
In fact, I was out there the other day, and there was paper and debris in the field that came from the wrappings of the drywall. So are you going to grind this drywall up and contain it inside an enclosed building so
Yes.
this stuff doesn't escape all over?
Yeah, that's what we need help on, and I'm sure we'll get it. What we've done in the past is put up shade structures with 70–80% shade, make them about 18–20 feet tall, only in the area, because the only area that's gonna compost is about 5 acres, so that's our intention. And that's why, to me, the process is so important, because we've been in limbo for a long time. So we're as anxious as everybody is to show you what, and I think staff understands that because we've been real proactive. I don't make excuses, I give explanations, but I had open heart surgery. So right in this time, my son did a terrific job, but he's a consultant in New York. He didn't, and I wasn't giving him the right guidance. As I said, we started doing the research 6 months ago, and I have all the letters and everything which I've provided with the county. I'm going back and forth and back and forth. I gave him the parcel number, so I was more than a little shocked.
Okay. Are you the same business that was in Levine?
Yes. And I have tremendous objections to what happened there.
You know, there's a lot of articles There's one here from Fox 10.
Mhm.
I could read it to you. Smell was a big one.
Yes.
And, lots of complaints, lots.
Well, I take it.
And odor, where's the odor coming from if we're just doing tree branches?
Okay. We had a different process there where we were testing different things because the microbial activity. We were taking milk. We took about 10 loads of milk there. We also had one neighbor who is now, the landlord actually called me today because he's all upset because they have a different use in there and the same lady's complaining. There's one lady that was a former employee. We located next to a 100-acre dairy, La Salva Dairy. So we're getting into a whose smell is whose. My brother owns a business, Arizona Worm Farm, within a half mile. He gets complaints like that. We don't want this operation with million-dollar houses next door. I understand that, but we also changed our process. If we only use green waste, you're exactly correct. But we were bringing in, from Fairlife, we were bringing in milk waste, which makes fantastic. The chemistry in the compost is super. But 20 years ago, I used Ponch from the meat packing plant, and you never smell anything like it. And what I didn't recognize, and we only leased the land, we didn't buy it, was that the area's changed. You don't want to run, it's sad to say, but you can't. Levine has become, million-dollar houses. But this was a specific case, and my reality is very different from what you read.
Yeah, in the Arizona Republic, January 7, 2005, said since 1998, your company has been sued more than a dozen times and paid to at least $435,000. But, it's on and on about the foul smell, the neighbors complaining, a sour smell, health consequences. The piles are 20 feet tall. I guess there was a court. I've got everything here. I'm sure I don't have to read it out loud to everybody, but this is on the internet. And when you come to a new area, it's nice to know the history. For some reason, we were presented pictures of alfalfa fields, and that you just got here and you got started, but you actually came from someplace else, and you got a little bit of baggage. And you were asked to leave that area and be out of there by a certain day because of what was going on, all the violations. And why would we want to entertain a business that has these problems that are transferred to our area? This commissioner down here on the end just brought up a question about future growth. So we were talking about solar then, but now we're talking about smells and odors and things that aren't appropriate where people want to live.
Mr. Chair, can I address a couple of these questions here?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
First of all, my client originally thought that this was an agricultural use. It's very close to being one, where you could actually grow the trees on this property. We could actually do composting and things under an agricultural permit, which is allowed. You go in this county and look at feedlots and cattle yards and lots of places that are agricultural that produce far greater odors and smells than what you're talking about here. Sure, had some problems over there in Levine. Property owners are very close by here in this proximity. We've illustrated tonight for you, we're in an area that's designated for future industrial, surrounded by farming operations, no houses within a great distance from this property. He's told you tonight that he's not going to do any kind of composting that's going to create that was generated at the other place. He's going to keep this operation clean and use the green waste and comply with the zoning code for plant nurseries, which is a permitted activity in the I-1 zoning district, which he's proposing here for you tonight. That I-1 district is compatible with the general plan, which the council approved. This could be, it could be something like, and it's not. You've got Western Emulsions across the street.
But at least we know, Rick, what we're smelling.
Yeah, well, and.
No, we know what tar smells like.
Sure, and I'm saying.
We know what this
I'm
smells
telling
like.
you here tonight that this client's not going to create any odors that you're going to notice that.
He's already has. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Not here at this site, he has not.
Yes, he has.
And no, he has not.
Yes.
Not at this site. He has done nothing to create odors on this site.
I think that you're wrong. I know that you're wrong from people that I hear from.
I'm not sure who you're hearing from, but I've not heard from any complaint. Have we got any complaints about this request tonight through the mail? through the mail?
We have one man with his hand up back there.
Well, there may be somebody that will here tonight who will address that, but
Right, I'm
just,
sure.
so,
The office hasn't received any, I haven't received any phone calls or emails
Okay.
or any walk-ins.
I'm just saying, you know, this guy came from someplace else, and he didn't leave on good terms, and we're trying to welcome him into our area. And it would be okay if there was a lot of unknowns, but there isn't. There's a lot of,
Mr. Brooks wants to be a good community partner. I think he's already demonstrated that verbally to the staff and for everyone. You know, he was working with the community of Randolph, was giving free produce out at the community of Randolph for a while, I believe, and doing some really good things.
what does the community of Randolph think?
Excuse me?
What does the community of Randolph think? Has anybody approached them?
You know, I think he's working with the community of Randolph and actually was going to hire some people there, I believe. I hired a few people, was giving them produce from the market that he operates. So I don't know. If I just, you know, happy to answer any more questions, but we're encouraging you to rezone the property in compliance with the general plan, which was previously approved by the council. Then we'll go through the site plan review process later,
That's
and you
right.
can address those issues later on.
We're not building anything tonight, we're just rezoning.
Rezoning, that's all you're doing this evening.
And during the site plan, we could, you know, set some requirements, you know, that you feel if you want fencing to contain any, you know, wind-blown debris, you know, so on and so forth.
This, even the stuff that you've got up from the internet, that doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing tonight.
That's correct.
We're talking about if we want to zone this property.
But we're not building the property until next time.
Right. But do
Yeah.
we want to zone something that we don't want to be here? That's the question.
It doesn't matter whether we change the zoning to I-1 or leave it where it's at. All we're doing is saying that we could build something on this property. We're not saying we're going to build something on this property.
So if we're not going to build something here, why zone it other than what it is?
We zoned a piece of property right across the street different than what it
I'm
was.
talking about this one.
Well, it don't matter.
It does.
We can change the zoning on any piece of property we want to change it on for any reason that we want
That's
to change
true.
it.
Mr. Chairman?
So let's
But
change it.
do we want to change it? That's what I'm
Yes,
asking.
we want to change it.
Do you want to change it, or
Yes.
the commission wants to change it?
Yeah,
We're going to find out in a little bit.
Mr. Chair, if there's a reluctance to change the zoning, I think I'd ask for a continuance on this to allow my client to have a representative here at the next meeting. We had a rezoning decision here, I think, just before I left the community, that rezoned property just to the west side of Highway 87 in the same vicinity for I-1, light industrial, which is what my client's requesting tonight. If he went over there and bought a little piece of property there and wanted to put a plant nursery there today, he could, today, do that. He's just asking for the similar consideration in an area that is designated for industrial and warehousing in compliance with the general plan, allowing for a light industrial use versus a very heavy industrial use, which he could even ask.
But the question is, do we want that type of a business at that location where the prevailing winds, as we know, come out of the south and travel to the northeast?
I just don't see that there's anything to the northeast of this property at all.
I think this is a conversation that we should have. If we agree to rezone this, as staff has already said, that we can always put requirements on for the site plan. We can always put additional things that have to be met with it. I think it's one thing to continue to talk about it, where if we actually put it to an action with the site plan next meeting, that I think that we'll be satisfied with what he's gonna have to comply with. I think if we just do the rezoning here, that is a different battle that we can fight with the site plan.
The property right across the street, am I right? I-1? That's the piece that I-2, which is even a higher zone.
It's consistent with the zoning, and like we put it, this is just the rezone. This doesn't give him permission to do what he's doing. This is a step in getting him in compliance, to getting him to be more of a nursery versus a composting operation. And, something that's, very much needed in this community as far as nurseries and plant, companies go, to help help with development, to help with the solar companies retain their plants. We apologize for not giving you today's pictures. In hindsight, I guess we should have, but you'll get those with the major site plan when we bring it back to you. And hopefully, a better, it'll look better by then.
Any more questions from Tom? Any more?
No, I'm good for a little while. I'll see what the citizens have.
Okay. We'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public that wishes to speak, come to the microphone, give your name and address.
Mr. Chairman of the commission. Rick, I wish I could say it was good to see you. Should have stayed retired. Just kidding. My name is Clifford Freeman. I'm a resident of Gilbert, Arizona. I own and operate a farm with my father on the neighboring property. It borders right up to this site. While I don't have anything, I think a nursery would be amazing, but there's definitely several things I would like to bring up. The stench that comes off of this place is like no other. So that's, hopefully Rick hasn't been out there, I guess, and look at it, and that's all just crazy to me. But anyways, yeah, the stench is crazy. If it's, I guess, that big of an issue, I have 2 employees that live on the property, girlfriend of one of the employees, their 3 kids. It's things they worry about, like the smell, to the point where they need to go inside. Most of you probably remember a gas line explosion several years ago that killed one of our employees and his daughter. And now you have somebody starting fires right next to a pumping station for natural gas. Kind of crazy. Getting rid of the sheetrock is probably great, I guess, if it stays contained. But it ends up in our ditches. Pots from the nursery. I've found those as far as on our place, Bartlett Road and Vale Road, which is well over a mile away. Just today in the tractor, pots out, and as I'm working, just plastic. The paper from the sheetrock in the fields. Anyways, I guess probably the biggest thing, I think a nursery, I do think that would be probably awesome to have a nursery inside of Coolidge, if that's how it was, the composting. Trust me, the smell came with them. That's not, it's crazy. I've talked to people as far as Wheeler Road, and wherever the wind's blowing, especially if those piles get opened up, it reeks. It absolutely stinks. If that goes away, then that would be awesome, and that would take care of the smell and everything else. And I don't know, maybe rezoning is would solve the problems, but I guess the biggest thing is, you have fires, trash, no containment. If you go out there, it's a total dump, and it stinks to high heaven. So
Okay, all the problems that you're bringing to us doesn't have anything to do with the rezoning. That's the problem.
Well, it's his opinion. He's entitled to talk.
You're
And I'm
entitled.
going to ask him some questions when we get
No,
done.
wait just a minute. We're talking about rezoning this piece of property. We're not talking about the conditions that anything that's built on this piece of property has to be under.
Correct. We're
Correct.
discussing if
But
we
we're
want
talk-
him to be there at all.
It doesn't matter. We got a piece right across the street that's the same.
I don't care.
district.
We're talking about this
Those
property.
places don't make the stink though and all that, and the garbage and the mess.
But the stench and all of that has to do with the piece of property that he wants to build there. He's been stopped from doing all work.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's causing all the problems right now.
he created his own problems that made it stop by lighting a ginormous fire and drawing attention to himself, running an illegal dump on city property. But yeah, I guess. Anyways, I've said my piece.
No,
No, stay up
that's
there.
fine. And Tom's got a question for you, so just wait just a minute.
So you brought up that there's a smell. I mean, smell is a pretty broad term. What kind of smell did you think that it was?
I don't know.
So it's not a farm smell.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get growing up on farms around dairy. I literally grew up surrounded by dairies. It like a dairy. Dairies, honestly, sometimes don't really smell that bad. Feedlots. I mean, obviously, if they have a rotting animal or something, it could be be stinky. But I don't know, some type of decomposing, gross organic material. I'm not sure what the specific. If it was just manure, it wouldn't be that bad. I mean, I've literally had friends pull over on the highway and call me like, "What the heck is this stench?" And well, I can't even for sure tell you, but other than yeah, it's.
So what can you best relate it to so we can understand? I mean, we're not.
I don't know, rotten milk. Just I don't know, maybe something like that.
And when did he show up? When did this start happening?
That's probably a better question for them, but probably the beginning of the year, I guess, probably.
And then when was the fire? What did it consist of from your view?
My guess is just tree parts and maybe the sheetrock and things like that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
And there were definitely small fires, like on a pretty regular. One time it probably got out of control, but.
So was it extinguished or was it just allowed to?
I believe the fire department was called. I wasn't there that evening, but my employees called in a bustle.
How big is the farm there?
Well,
just roughly 400 acres.
400, yeah. I guess if you count like Mr. Bartlett, it's all around there, obviously.
Is it common or routine to find pieces of paper and plastic and?
Well, it has been it has been since this. Yes.
Before he showed up there.
Oh, no, of course not. I have plenty of pictures too. If that's ever a thing. I know nobody's on trial or anything here, but if nobody believes my word, I guess.
No, and that's fine, because the next part is where we need all the pictures and we need all of this stuff, because that has to be contained or it can't be built. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that doesn't have to do with the rezoning.
Right, yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
I understand that, yeah. I'm more just.
I mean, you have to separate the sections as it goes.
Obviously myself, like, I don't know the exact, obviously, order of operations. So in my mind, I'm more making my peace and letting everyone know some of the potential issues of having a business like this, I guess.
And I really, and I want you to, we want to make sure that we contact you and get this information for the next part of this.
Right.
If we decide to rezone this area, like we're being asked to tonight.
Right.
And then we'll go back to the other stuff.
Right. It's just, I guess, sitting back there, it just seems simply like things were misrepresented.
No, you're doing fine.
Thank you.
And commissioners, can I add to this? Debris blowing off of a construction site is, this is not unique. It's happening today. It's happening in all of our subdivisions. We have, constantly have to go after them, say, you guys need to contain this. And they have walls, in a perfect world, he would have came to us, we'd have got the rezone, bam, we moved into the major site plan. We could have dictated what we wanted. And again, it's not a perfect world. We're trying to help this individual and bring business to town. And this is just a first step. The second step will be where, we could, figure out what we want. We could reduce the composting operation to make it mostly, nurseries. And the compost that he's using is from his nursery, is generated from his nurseries, not brought in from other waste streams. And this is why we're bringing it here to you today to help this gentleman along and get his business going correctly so he doesn't have these issues anymore.
If this would have all, if this was a perfect world, nobody'd even know that there was any paper out there, or plastic out there, or smells out there, because it wouldn't be, because it would look like the picture that Tom showed. Because somebody screwed up along the way, we've got a problem.
And this happened in just within a few months. When we drove out there, it was all of a sudden, oh, what's this fire going on here? And then we delved into it and found out what was going on. And then we put the cease and desist, and here we are today.
Exactly.
So you're the one that figured it out. He didn't come to you and say, whoops, I thought it was in the county, but it's actually in the city. So he hasn't come in ever.
Well, he came to us. He came to us, and I think he was asking for an address or wanting to know how to get an address. He wasn't sure how to get an address, and we were like, "Well, let's take a drive out there and figure it out." And we figured out, well, you are in our city limits, and this business, we don't know anything about your business. And by the way, you got some smoldering over there, and then the wind picked up, and then it just took off. It kind of spiraled from there.
I think it'd have been a lot more tolerable to me if everything was in the open. Accurate pictures, accurate status. The guy's already there. The compost is kind of half there. There's, I don't know how many stacks or bundles of drywall is out there. I understand the process, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and they were there when I rolled up that first day, and I was just as surprised.
But nothing's in order. It's just clumps of here, piles of that.
And then that's why we restricted any import. He's been working every day. We kind of monitor him, and we make sure that there's no trucks being brought in. So it's a process. We're trying to help him come into compliance, and this is the first step.
Vice Chair Scott, if I might, if it seems out of order, it's because we are out of order. There would be a zoning, then there would be a site plan that would say, this is how you're going to develop this property. We don't have that yet. So if we had the zoning, then we'd go back and let's just say, hypothetically, if this was approved, and then we go to site plan and we say, this is where you can have the plants set up, this is where you can have the small composting operation. If it's different than how he has it set up currently, he'd have to move everything to accommodate that site plan. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it just seems under the table.
And
the whole process seems under the table.
Two additional points, and Rick earlier had mentioned, he mentioned requesting a continuance possibly, but the second point is this commission's role is recommending body to council.
Right.
So whatever that recommendation is, up, down, table, we're not voting, we're not denying anything tonight. It's the city council that would make that final decision.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, he's absolutely right. I think, whatever you decide tonight will go to the council. Did you say next Monday night or when?
This coming Monday is going to the council
That quickly?
if it's recommended for approval.
Got one more
Okay.
person who wants to speak. Hi.
My name's Donetta Montgomery, and I actually live on Wheeler Road. I actually had called the city of Coolidge when trees started getting hauled in and fires were burning continually. And City Public Works said, we don't know anything about it. Transfer me to planning and zoning. Nobody has a license. There's no business there. I'm like, well, you might want to go out there and look because they're burning every day. There's all these trees drug in. They've lined the property. I've worked in a weigh station with trucks. There's more than 30 truckloads there. Not even close. Now there are piles and piles of drywall stacked up. Where's the stuff coming from? Are we hauling it in from Maricopa County? Another project that now Pinal County and Coolidge gets screwed because we're stupid and we let people bring stuff in from other counties to use this as a dumping ground. The compost stinks to high heaven. I don't know what it is. We almost thought it was human waste. We tried to find out what it was. My husband and I went in there, asked, the gentleman didn't speak English. My Spanish isn't great. He said he would have the owner call us. Didn't get a call. It's not cow manure. I've been raised on a farm too. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is the milk products. Where's it getting hauled in from? It's not green leaf. It's not ground up tree leaves. It's not ground up branches. Then you got, I think there's big piles of cement there. I mean, this whole thing, and it's, I understand this is to rezone, but the reason why you're looking to rezone is because of this business. Otherwise, rezoning that property would not be on your schedule. So I understand it's two different processes, but that is the reason why you're wanting to rezone. And I'm sorry, I take people by their character. This man, the business, has since 1998 has had 12 lawsuits. He has paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for these lawsuits. There's currently a lawsuit in Maricopa County, and I can give you the case number. That was in January of this year. That's when he was ordered to leave there before then. What he do? He immediately comes down here, starts doing the same crap here, and I'm sorry, do the same thing here. You cannot come down here and plead ignorance. Oh, I didn't know I needed the print. Oh, I didn't know it was in city limits. If I'm buying a property, I damn well know where it's at. Don't tell me you've been in business all these years, you got all these lawsuits, and now you're gonna plead ignorance? And I respectfully ask, and I know I got people there laughing because you all want this in, and people's hands are probably getting patted, but I'm sick of Coolidge being dumped on, and people, because they don't research, letting it happen. And I respectfully ask for all of you to please research. Research, this was just high level I found today on his background. I haven't dug into all the other cases. This is just, you judge a person by their character. And yes, people can change. And did he get fined for coming in here and starting a business and burning illegally and hauling all that crap in? And like, again, where's all this stuff coming from? Why are we being the dumping ground? And yes, he said, oh, we're gonna make a nursery. First story tonight is, well, it's gonna be retail and wholesale. Well then, well, no, now maybe it's only gonna be wholesale. The plants that are out there are half dead. I think the nursery thing, my opinion, and it's only an opinion, I could be 100% wrong, is a ruse. It's an excuse to get it in there. And then if you wanna look at the site thing, the high-speed rail's gonna go in, that's already passed. That's gonna take up some of that land there. So anyhow, I'm upset, but I just kindly ask you all, do your research. Quit getting Coolidge shit on with these projects that don't give anything back to the community.
What type of, I'm still up there on the type of the smell. What could you relate that to?
Honest to God, I don't know what it is. I almost thought it was human waste. I don't know what it is, and I didn't get out of the car and go take a sample.
Right. Is it nauseating? Is it, I mean, how did it affect you? Some smells don't affect you, they're just nasty.
No, it's nasty. I mean, I didn't stand downwind of it long enough to see if it was gonna impact me, but go stand out there, go take your samples. Go out there. I behoove each and every one of you, go out there and drive around. It's not like just a little couple piles of stuff. There are tons and tons and tons of this compost, drywall, and I think there's cement piles out there too. And then all these humongous, old tamarack trees that are dead, they've got them bordering like a fence along the property line. And then they did build a little bit of a chain link fence. It's a disaster. And I do not give the company 100% pass based on their past performance and what they have done. They just simply came down here and started doing the same damn thing. So anyhow, thank you for listening. Sorry for cussing, but it's upsetting to me, and it seems like we always get walked on because we don't do our homework. And we need to stand up for our community and our people.
Thank you.
You have to be accurate. I'm very proud of my business record. The one lawsuit that we had was with a bank. I owned one bank, about $1.8 million. That was paid completely. The other note was paid completely too. All I'm saying is you need to be fair. If we need to, we will not compost. We'll just do the gypsum project there, and we'll have whatever the site plan says, we'll do. If you look at what we've done since and again, I was gone for 45 days. We made some mistakes. We did move some material from Levine, and I think that's what the cause is. We have not done any more composting. All we've been doing is removing. I think staff can testify, and I wanted them to come out and see. Probably 50, 60% has been removed. The rest of it will be. We're here doing exactly what they told us to do. and we're going to go through the process, and we'll prove that we're good neighbors. I was on 1150 West Baseline for 45 years, built the place myself, never had a complaint, never had a complaint. We went to one site in Levine, and we're being convicted for something that didn't happen. That case has been closed. I paid a fine because I chose to not fight it. We went and got a permit from ADQ for composting, and there's an Arizona state law in ag land that allows you to compost. So I did all that stuff learning from my mistakes. And I'm not saying we didn't make mistakes. I'm saying that whatever those mistakes are, they'll be corrected. We have brought in no compost. In the next probably 90, 120 days, all the compost that's there can be removed. We'll have only gypsum there. And the gypsum we screened 2 or 3 times. We just brought in another screen because we weren't getting it out of there quick enough. So you need to be careful when you're flinging accusations. I'm very proud, as I said, of my 50 years in business. And because you're one thing from one neighbor, and then when social media gets out of hand, doesn't mean it's correct. We bought the property from the Freeman family, and we have a little bit of conflict over water because they have to give us water, which is a little bit of trouble for him. We have had some stuff blow. The minute he told me about it, we put people out and even cleaned his ditches. And he was very happy with that. So you need to judge by what reality is now from the minute that and as I said, we got an Arizona state statute that allows you to compost on ag land. We were told now that's not ag land. We were told it was in everything we've done since we were notified, and I think staff will testify to that, has been to get in compliance. If we need to put, we're planning to restrict composting 4 or 5 acres. So you're gonna have 25 acres of nursery. And here's just an example. All the trees are dead. You wanna come out and see them? You'll wanna buy them. They're all perfect. I found one drip tube this morning at 6 a.m. that wasn't. So it's just not true. You're getting all this innuendo, and it's all based on these articles without anybody looking at what the truth is. One of the articles said that we hadn't filed the Corporation Commission papers properly, okay? I had 3 farms leased to hemp, and I had 10 lawsuits from hemp guys that didn't pay the rent. So if you looked at what the lawsuits are, and I'm sorry, I don't want one lawsuit, but there's no judgments against them. They've all been resolved. We're in the nursery business, and we've had tough times. Never declared bankruptcy, always paid everybody. I had one bank that was adversarial. I went, borrowed the money at 14%, worked my ass off and paid the bank off. So go check that. You need to deal with facts. You need to deal with reality
That's what we're
today.
doing, sir.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I welcome that, and I'll meet you down there, and you'll tell me if the trees are dead or alive. I mean, see, you get these ridiculous accusations.
I'm not talking about the
all
nursery
we want today
plant.
is we want to be through the process, which is what we're done. Since I knew what to do, we've done it exactly. We've done it with great intensity. They're the judge, ask them. Given the zoning, we'll do the site planning. We'll go meet with the neighbors. I would love to meet with the neighbors. I don't have any problem anytime. Anytime that Kelly Freeman called me and said that there was, and we're talking about, a couple 5-gallon containers of pots, and it's true. We need to have a barrier. The trees will do it. The idea was to put the trees up and then put fabric or something between them. But I have all kinds of ideas because I don't want to have any impact, and we won't. But we've made a big investment, and our investment only works if we have people happy. And maybe there's one complaint. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not different than a feedlot. It's not different than a dairy. That's just, if there is something in the existing compost, I'll guarantee we can stipulate that every bit of compost that's there now will be removed, and that we'll start the process with only green waste. I don't have any problem with those stipulations. That's what I'm telling you, is that we're here to go through the process. And there really is an issue on whether or not I was mistaken or not. I don't know if you want to, I don't want to fight over it. I want to get the site beautiful, landscape it, and have a beautiful nursery. If we have to fight over it, I don't know what choice I have. But that's not where I want to put energy. And again, ask staff what kind of energy we've put in it. And look at what the recommendations are. They've been there. So, are there more questions for me?
No, good.
Okay. We'll close the public section. Staff have anything else they want to add? James?
This isn't the perfect situation. I agree, and we're doing the best we can to bring this company into compliance, and add to the community with a nice nursery. We recognize that it's not, a jewel out there, and you know, if there are smells, I know he had hauled, you know, the waste from his other site, you know, so he's working to get those off of there, to get all that off of there, and you know, I think if we work with him, you know, he's been really compliant with so far, and you know, so that's why we're here today, and I, you know, I ask you, you know, if we could pass this zoning, this rezone, this will go a long way with bringing him into compliance and having a nice business for the city.
Okay. Ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we deny Cool PZ 25-06-12.
Is there a second?
Vice Chair Scott, did you say 1-2? This is 1-1. Correct?
Oh, sorry, my mistake. I'm on the wrong. Let me start over. I make a motion that we deny Cool PZ 25-06-11.
Second?
I just feel if it was presented correctly, it would be differently, but it wasn't.
You made the motion.
Okay.
Do I have a second? Hearing none, motion dies. Do I have a motion to approve Cool PZ 250611?
I motion to table Cool PZ 250611.
I second.
Motion has been made to table Cool PZ 250611. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Cool PZ 250612 of preliminary plat extension submitted by Greg Davis of One Plan Consulting and Chris Moore of Sunrise Engineering on behalf of Toltec Point Partners
Of course.
LLC for the 55 residential lot
Original material,
subdivision
just replicating
of
it so they could see it if
Toltec
they were.
Estates within the Toltec Point planned area development. A 70-acre net site plus or minus parcel located northeast of the intersection corner of South Toltec Buttes Road and West McCartney Road. APN number 509-50-015 and 509-50-015F. Bill?
Subject location is here, not too far from some similar 1-acre sized lots that are in the county. The extension would give them another 12 months. If they did not submit it to final plat and engineering plans, they would have to come back and start over from scratch. This project will eventually come before the Planning and Zoning Commission because it does have assured water. It's a very nice project. Let's see, I'm going backwards here. General plan exhibit shows it as urban neighborhood. The zoning is PAD, as is the rest of the project, which is the Toltec PAD. Some pictures looking northeast from the intersection of Butte and McCarthy Road. Another picture looking from the right-of-way of West McCarthy Road, and then on the north end of the site, looking generally south from North Toltec Buttes Road. This is just the stuff from the PAD from last year, from those of you that were part of it. Phase 1 has always been the intended first development, which is what the project is. It was initially contemplated as 100. It is proposed as 50, as was last year, or 55, I should say. And just basically sharing the Toltec preliminary plat cover sheet and then the actual plat itself with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the straightforward action is to consider the extension of a 12-month preliminary plat that the applicant has requested. The applicant representative is here and could potentially answer any questions that you have. So.
The only question that I would have for staff is just, is this the second time it's come through for just an extension? How many?
They're only allowed
On
one.
the amount of extensions?
There's only one. A couple years ago, it used to be 6 months, but it was just a single extension. A few years ago, we zoning text amended it before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council to make it 12 months. So this would extend it out through next August.
Okay, so this just specific one this is its first time just being extended?
It's its first request for an extension, yes.
Okay, I could have swore we saw something else that was similar.
We did.
My brain.
We did.
Okay.
When it was originally approved as an original
This
application.
one, it was the one
Yes.
right there on McCartney Road.
Yeah.
too.
Okay, so my mind's not playing tricks on me.
No, you're good.
I'm insane.
The only question I have is there's no changes, it's just the 5 year, it's just the extension.
It's just an extension request. Everything is exactly the same as approved by this board, or this commission last year.
I didn't see any changes.
No.
Okay. So, everything stays the same as it is.
Yes.
Just a question for clarification on the proposal. Is there like 2 ways to get in there, or is there just one?
No, there are 2 points of access.
Okay.
As you can see here, off of Toltec Buttes, and then over here in McCarthy.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And the fire department has reviewed this as last year, so.
Yeah.
You see, look, off of Toltec Buttes Road is the other one.
Okay.
And the size of the lots,
They're all over an acre. The county won't let them have a septic system, anything small.
so there's,
Yeah. There's no sewer out there, so they have to have septic systems.
yeah, it looks good. Kind of blends in good with whatever's out there to the west.
Okay. Bill, you got anything else you want to say before I open it to the public?
Nope, staff's recommending approval.
I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this subject, please come to the microphone. Nope. Close the public section. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve pool PZ 25-06.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Cool PZ 25-06-12 preliminary plat extension. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. James, got anything you want to talk with us about?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have a lot of exciting news. We just received the 3 grants I've been going for. I think a little over 3 years. You know, they total about $2.8 million for the construction phase of the apron and taxiway at the airport. So the meeting in the 26th of August, we're bringing that to council for approval for the contract for Bandicoot Construction. So we'll kick that off in September, which will bring a lot of jobs. You know, it's just keeping the money in the state versus going elsewhere. We're actively going after a road grant currently. Hopefully, our current administration will keep these grants coming and maybe, it seems like they're even streamlining a little. We do have a new business we're excited about. They just submitted for a tenant improvement in the Safeway Mall, Firehouse Subs. So they're pretty, so we're excited about that. We do have several projects that are coming to a close. We just closed a large hangar project, so we're finaling that. So we got the business in there, and they got their water, they got their fire lines, and their landscaping. So we're about they have a temporary CO for that one. Phil, do you have anything else to add?
Only say we will have a meeting in September. It's for permit for an automobile repair place, existing building, but just basically updating, providing a site plan. And in the coming months after that, we're still working through our biggest PAD, Sandia, another project that they are proposing called Briarwood, 320 acres, and those should be coming before the Planning and Zoning Commission anywhere from October to February. And some other applications will probably pop in there too, so we'll see how that goes, so.
Okay.
Any questions, Commissioner? No.
Nope. I'm gonna open the meeting to the public. Anyone would like to come and speak on any subject to the commission, please come to the microphone. Nobody coming? Close the public section. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?